Starting, all attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Tracy Fitzpatrick, and I'll be your moderator today. Thank you so much for joining us here at Netcom Learning, a market leader in promoting lifelong learning, training, and talent development solutions. And we're very excited to host today's webinar, Introduction to Revit and Firewalls. Presenting today's topic is Roger Mojica. Roger has over 20 years of experience working with challenging projects in the management and support in CAD and 3D studio systems for architectural firms, interior design, and engineering companies. Now, please bear in mind that this is an overview of a very robust topic. We do offer a collection of technical and business courses that can be tailored towards your specific requirements. If you are interested in a further discussion, you can make an appointment with our learning consultants through our website at netcomlearning.com. Today's session is also being recorded, so you will get free access to the recording in the next 24 hours via email. And now I'd like to invite Mary Feeney, our Director of Corporate Learning here at Netcom Learning, to discuss some values and important items. Mary, go ahead.
Thanks, Tracy. Netcom Learning helps customers build innovative learning organization by achieving a smarter workforce, adapting to change, and driving growth. We do this with a broad catalog of offerings, developing customized learning plans, and our global delivery capabilities. Since 1998, we have been empowering organizations with our managed learning services to help them reach optimal performance results and address challenges. We have 9 practice areas in which we specialize. They encompass people, process, and technology training. Today's presentation is from the graphic design practice area. Netcom Learning offers a comprehensive training portfolio for Revit training. Here are some of our upcoming classes on our public schedule. We have the Autodesk Revit Structure 2017 Fundamentals scheduled on Feb 26. We have the Revit Architecture 2017 Fundamentals scheduled on the 12th of March, and we have Revit MEP 2017 Fundamentals, which is scheduled on March 19. We can also deliver private training to teams, of which the learning plan can be customized to the specific needs of that audience. These offerings can be found with a simple search on our website at netcomlearning.com. With that, I will turn it back to you, Tracy.
Thank you so much, Mary. So why should you all want to attend this webinar today? Autodesk Revit is a design and modeling tool used for building information modeling. It's used by architects and designers to design and conceptualize construction designs while working on a multidisciplinary design process. Walls in Revit are an important aspect, and these can act as a host to a variety of elements, from doors and windows to even switchboards, wall sweeps, wall reveals, and any wall-based components such as light switches, electrical sockets, or radiators. County planning departments as well as construction teams need floor plans that designate the fire ratings of walls to ensure compliance with building code. And now I'd like to give you a quick overview of the logistics before we get started. To begin with, you do have the option to adjust the window size to your liking. Simply hit the Escape key and find the Zoom button on the top left corner of your GoToWebinar viewer. Everyone has been muted except for our presenters. Please feel free to submit any questions you do have for the presenters here in the questions pane, and we will address them at the end of the session. A PDF copy of today's slides are also in the handout section of your GoToWebinar viewer. And now I'd like to hand it over to Roger, who will be presenting today's topic. Roger, go ahead, you are live.
Thank you. I appreciate your time and I appreciate your presentation. And like you say, my name is Roger Mojica, and I'm going to be your presenter right now and showing you some of the interesting things about, Revit and firewalls. I'm going to just quickly give it a small review about what is today's topic of the webinar. Firewalls is a very well things that many architectural firms there are actually facing when they actually working with Revit. Like you, Tracy, you just mentioned, Revit is a very well known program that now more and more companies are switching to and are actually getting into this program because it's a parametric program that helps not only in the design process but also throughout the entire workflow of the design and construction of any project whatsoever, whether the project is educational project, commercial, residential, and so forth. Today's topic is a very specific one, so we're going to be showing a very specific point that many architects and construction companies, they always face when it comes to show and represent firewalls in Revit, specifically in Revit architectural, and also it might be applied for Revit MEP and structural. So the first thing that we're going to be seeing here, and you're going to be able to remember and learn, is how we can actually change the appearance of the Revit firewalls with either hatch patterns or color coding, so that actually we can see this better in our floor plans or elevations or sections within the construction documentation. We're also gonna learn how to do some wall tags that actually can identify these specific wall firewalls in the project, especially the documentation part, and how can we place then this also in the schedule and legends. And obviously at the end of the section we're going to have some Q&A, so for any question that you might have or might rise during the presentation. So that is what we're going to be trying to cover today, and hopefully you're going to learn a lot of this little small topic. So one of the things that many people that works with Revit is actually facing the fact that they have a wall, but they don't know how to represent these guys. And little to know, many people use the visibility graphics overrides to try to represent this, or use some hatches, because they come from an AutoCAD background and they try to do that in AutoCAD. It works very well, but in Revit actually we can use other techniques that can help us to do that. For that purpose, so let me switch now to Revit, and for this presentation I'm going to use Revit 2017, but it also can be applied to Revit 16, 15 if you are working with those, or even Revit 2018, that is the current version of Revit. I'm just going to quickly open a regular template, architectural template, or any other architectural background template that you might have. And if you see and you know, then a regular architectural template allows me to create any wall whatsoever. So if I go here in wall, so you can see in this template that I have different wall types. So every single wall type that is here is loaded into or preloaded into this template, and then I can use any one of them. I'm just going to show you a couple of them. I'm going to create this one, base wall, exterior brick with CMU and metal stop. I'm going to create another one, exterior one here. That is this exterior wall too. And I'm going to create one that is a genetic wall. That is basically one of the walls that many architects and designers use in the first glance, just to utilize them and change it later. As many of you well know, because probably most of you are based on Revit, already have some knowledge of Revit to be in this topic. The representation in this floor plan, detail level of these walls are very simple. You can tell if I zoom in a little bit closer that actually the simplicity of this is just kind of two lines and so forth. That it comes for the fact that here in this area I can bump it up the level of detail. So you know that coarse, medium, and fine are the only three levels of detail that I have in every single view, whether it's a flat floor plan, elevation or sections, or even a 3D view. If I bump it at this to medium, then immediately you can tell in my graphic that actually my walls can start to be more, showing more the different layers of material that they have. You can tell that in here, in this one, and obviously in the genetic wall, it's just a simple flat wall that doesn't have any layer of information whatsoever. If I bump it up to fine, it will be probably give me the same information. However, if you select any one of those walls and you go to the edit type, you're gonna see here, and you scroll down here in the properties type, that the fire rating is in blank. That means that there's no any fire rating, assigned to this wall. I'm gonna select the other two, deselect here, and select this one, and I'm gonna do the same, so you're gonna notice the same situation. So how can we actually utilize any wall types, any one? That's why I placed 3 of them different, so that you know, and you can see where you can locate it, the fire rating, and how can we assign. Well, if you are coming from an AutoCAD background, most likely you represent those fire rating in floor plan or even in a section by creating a hash. And that can be done here in Revit. If I go to the Annotate tab and I go to the region, I can create this region, very simple, by sketching this region probably in this wall. I'm gonna do this in this case, which is the simple one. Select any particular fill region or hatch that can work with it, and hit OK, and then there it is. I can represent this, and then I can create a legend showing this wall with this particular hatch and saying that this is a firewall, maybe 1 hour or 2 hours and so forth. That will work very nice, but this is actually a mechanical way to do it, or a graphic way to do it. If I do that, then I have to do this for every single wall that I have in my floor plan. And the problem that this might come up is what happens if I have a 3-story, 5-story, 10-story building, then for every single floor plan I have to do for every single wall this hatch. It's practical, it's graphic, but it's not efficient. So we want to learn how to do this. However, still, if I select the wall per set and not the region, I'm gonna have to do this and then filter, select the wall and not the detailed item. It's still, my wall is not representing the fire rating 2 hours, 1 hour, or so forth that I need to. And this is important to know it or to do it in Revit, because that will help us later on in the schedule takeoff and the quantities and things like that. That is the part that is really important to use Revit, because this is database information. I'm going to delete this particular field region or hatch, and then now I'm going to show you a better way to do that. By the way, even if I'm going to undo that section of this wall. So in the section, I do have then to do the same situation. Graphically, I have to now create a region with a hatch to represent this firewall here in the section. It's efficient graphically, but now you can tell that it's a time-consuming situation. How can we do it in a better way? Well, going back to my chart, is by using filters. So the filters is a very interesting equipment or technique that we have in Revit that can help us to organize all of these different items, not necessarily walls, but all of these different categories. So where can I find the filters? Just keep in mind in which level I am. I'm in level 1 or floor plan 1. If I go to the visibility graphics overrides, which is something that many of you know that in the last part I have this filter category that is actually right now in blank. So how can I then create a filter that can help me to do the firewall in 1 hour and 2 hours? Let's do it those two. Well, I can go here to edit type or edit and create a new filter. So far in this template, I don't have any filter that shows me the fire rating, but it's very easy to do by creating a new filter and immediately give me this dialog box. And I'm gonna call here, fire rating 1 hour. And again, in this point, I have to say the naming convention is up to you. It's up to the policy of your company or you as a user. But I always suggest place a name that is meaningful, that it makes sense, and that is understandable not only for you or by you, but for the rest of the team. And then here we have the categories. So if you go scroll down all the way down, we have the walls category. So once I select this, I create my filter, wall category. So in the filter rules, that's exactly what I want to look for, fire rating. And if you look up, it's over here, fire rating, then there it is. So I create my filter, I select the category where I want that fire rating filter or that filter be, and obviously I have to rule out that it's gonna be fire rating. And then I want that when I select the filter, look for the fire rating of the walls that are equal to, and if I click there, there's no name, 1 hour. And if I do that and apply, hit OK, then I create my filter. I'm going to create a second filter, the same name. You see, it says fire filter. So fire rating, I'm going to create new. I'm going to call now fire rating 2 hours. Same situation. I'm going to apply that to walls. Then I'm going to filter that by the fire rating equals 2 hours. And here, apply, okay? And that's so far that we can do. Now I'm going to add to my filters here, to this list here, I'm going to add the fire rating 1 hour and going to add now the fire rating 2 hours. Once I have that, then I can hit OK, and then I can come to any one of these walls that I have here. For example, I can select this one, go to the edit type, and then scroll down, and in the fire rating, I'm gonna mention that this guy is gonna be 1 hour. So now this wall is 1 hour fire rating. And apply that, hit OK, and right now that wall now is set up that way. I can do that with these other walls types. Then I'm gonna select this one just for the sake of that, and I'm gonna place this guy, fire rating 2 hours. And apply and hit OK. So far so good. So that we create a filter, we made the filters work for fire ratings, and then I apply the fire rating for all of these walls. Then you have to do this for every single wall that you need to apply the fire rating, whether it's 1 hour, 2 hours, and so forth. Now, the representation itself is not showing anything. Now, if I select this guy, I know for sure, if I go to the edit type, that this is a fire rating 1 hour, but how can I represent this? Remember that I did previously a hash, and that was very nice, but then the problem is it's graphic, and then I have to do that for every single line, every single wall. What happens if I have different walls? Let's say that I'm going back here in wall and I have walls. I'm gonna use another one just for the sake of that I have walls like this in the entire project, and it's a large project, so I have to do the hash for every single one of them, and it wanna be a time consuming. So that's not what you want. You want to be more effective. So lastly, how can we then represent those hatches or even our field pattern? Let's go back again to the filter. And now you know that I have a fire rating filter. These guys are visible. And here in the cut plane, you can either align, in the patterns, then you can click there and override, and then you can place either a color coding for the fire rating walls representation and or a hash. So if you go here to the override, you can actually apply that color. Let's apply that color. So let's make this 1 hour. Let's make it a little bit orange. Hit OK. And the pattern, you can actually, if you look at that, in almost all of these are Revit templates, they come out with all of these hatches available. I'm going to use the fill, the solid fill. When I hit OK, I'm going to apply. Then I'm going to go to file rating number 2. I'm going to do exactly the same. Go here, override. I'm going to now make it red. And the pattern, I'm going to use a solid fill red. Right. Apply, hit OK, and look immediately on my screen. Then in the floor plan, you can tell this wall element, it has a file rating of 2 hours, and it's actually representing very nicely in the red solid color. And this one is file rating 1 hour. You can tell by edit type, and it's very clear represented by the solid color that I choose. Let's say that you don't want to use color, you want to use hatches. So we can go back again to the graphic, override, filter. Instead of a pattern, click here. Instead of a solid, you can select any, hash whatsoever that you want to use, depending on the policy of your company or depending on the situation of the city codes, the hatches that they require. So if I use this one, so in the file rating of 1 hour, apply, hit OK. Now you can tell there that this guy is exactly that one. This wall is actually a basic wall generic 2. I didn't even change the name. I can duplicate it if I want to. So I can now call this, so I can duplicate in the, so I select the wall, edit type, duplicate it, and then I'm gonna call this wall fire rating 1 hour. So now that you have that in the list of the wall. So if you go now here in wall creation, then you're gonna find that guy here, wall fire rating 1 hour. And then you can do your design in the way that you want to, and then look the difference between this and the way that I did it before without having to create any specific hash or whatever. The beautiful things about this is that this guy can be in a legend or in the schedules, and then automatically this is going to be identified as a fire rating wall that it has actually this representation. What happens if I do a section? If you go to the section, let me bump it up this to medium, and it doesn't do anything. Why? Well, let's go back again to the floor plan, and let's select that wall and go to the edit type. And as I mentioned, and Tracy mentioned in the early stage of this webinar, this is for some people that already, so this webinar is specifically for people who already knows how to Revit. So here in the structure, if you go here to the structure, you see that there's not any particular material. But if I open, and for the sake of the save the time, I have actually another project here that is actually already organized and set up here in my desktop. I have this other file for the sake of the time. That I do have some materials already assigned for fire rating, and then actually I'm gonna refresh for some people how to transport or transfer information from one file to the other. So if you see this section here, you can tell now that in the section detail, the wall is showing me also the hatches. In this case, for the fire rating, actually, if you select this wall is a stackable wall, but it has these hatches. So what I would like to bring to my other drawing is actually the most important part. If I select this wall and go directly here on the floor plan in the edit, you're gonna see that it have this partition 1 to 2 hours. But then if I go and see that particular wall, you know, this basic wall particular 2 hours, and then that guy will tells me here that he have this structural, is a 2 hours wood stop layer with that particular, if I click here in that material, with that particular material, you see. So how can I bring these two materials that are actually already set up in this other file? So very simple. I'm going to the other file by switching Control Tab, switching to this other file. And the other one. And I'm gonna go to the Manage tab, going to the Transfer Properties Project Standards, and because I have those two open, I'm gonna uncheck, and the only thing that I'm gonna bring is materials. So when I bring the materials, I'm gonna only bring the new ones. Then here in this wall, if I go to the Edit type, and I go to my Edit, in here in the structure, now I can look for that particular material, and you're gonna see now that in this particular file, I have these two materials, 1 hour wood stop layer 2 and 2 hours, you know, layer. So, and this is 1 hour, so I'm gonna use this particular material, hit OK, and hit OK, and hit OK, and then now when I see this, in my section, you can see now the hash that is applied on my section. Very straightforward the way we do this. Now, going back again to my level 1, if I still are here in material, in Manage tab, here on my original file, you're gonna see here in the materials that for this 1 hour wood stop material that I import, so to speak, or I transfer from the other file, here in the graphic area is showing me that in the cut pattern I have already 1 hour, click here, hash assigned to it. Again, you can assign any hash. So I'm showing you two different things here. One is how by the filter you can create any filter specifying the fire rating, and how can that be applied to any wall in particular, whether you want to use a hatch or whether you want to use a solid, and how in the cut pattern we can apply to the wall itself here in the structure, you know, material that actually will represent these hatches in floor plan by the filter in a floor plan, and in a section by the actual, you know, material that this structural material has. Lastly, the interesting thing that happens here, and some of you that are Revit users knows that by default this wall should be from level 1 to level 2, pretty much more or less. Here it is unconnected. I'm gonna constrain that to level 2. And if I see that in a section now, you see that my walls goes from level 1 to level 2. What happens if I want to create in level 2 a wall, and I want to create the same wall with, you know, fire rating? Now you see something very interesting here. I'm using the same basic wall fire rating 1 hour that I used in the first level, but now here is not showing me the hash that I used for that. So what is happening is that here in this particular floor plan, if you go to the visibility graphics, to the filters, I don't have the filter to these guys. So then the question that might become is, okay, do I have to do the filters again now for every single view and then apply for every single floor plan? That will work fine if I have two levels. Or what about a 50-story building? I'm going to show you a very interesting thing that happens that many people might know, but not necessarily know these little tip and tricks about view templates. So in this first floor plan, if I go to the View tab, I can go to the View Templates and create a template from these particular settings of my view here. And just to remind you, in the first floor plan, I do have the filters. I do have the filters already set up here. So I'm going to create a View template from this view floor plan number 1 that actually have those already settings filters. So I'm gonna call it here view fire rating template, and I'm gonna use the word template, but I'm gonna give you the tip and trick that maybe many of you are not aware of, even though maybe you are an expert using Revit. Usually when we create a view template, we actually lock, so to speak, all of these properties of this particular view. And if we apply this view to other views, we kind of bound by those things. But you see this check mark here? So I'm gonna uncheck everything, but and if I do that, you're gonna see something very interesting and very nice that will happen with this particular template. I just wanna make sure that the filters are the ones that are gonna be the only one. So technically, I'm creating a view template for filters only. The rest will remain exactly the same, and or I can change it later on in the other floor plans that I'm going to apply this view template. If I do this, hit OK, nothing happened here. My view template didn't apply here because I just used this as a base to create a view template. So I'm going to just do it a couple times, showing you in these first floor plans, my filters has these two fire ratings that I created. If I switch to, let me see which is this one, and the basic exterior EIF. So I'm going to create in level 2 and a wall of the fire rating number 2. Let me make sure if I remember which one I used. I think it's this one. This has the fire rating number 2. Let me double check. Yes. But again, you see, it doesn't show me. And some of you knows that I looking down on my first floor on the underlay. I'm going to turn off that so that I only see what is in my second floor. If I now go back again to the visibility graphics of the second floor, you see that there's no filter. But if I now apply that template with that particular, view fire rating template and then apply it, now look at what happened here. The miracle start here. The walls now has these filters applied because I placed that filter. However, because filters are very locking everything, then I still can change on this particular floor plan any scale without affecting the scale of the other one if I apply the same fire rating filter. So far, that is what it shows you, a really good way to create fire rating walls and apply, a very interesting, either color coding or hatchings without having to do it manually. Now let's go to tagging this. If I go down to the annotate, which is actually, I'm going to switch back quickly here in the tag. You see, that's what I just show you, how to use the view templates to fire rating. Now, finally, let's talk about the wall tag. So if you go to tagging these guys, these walls, you go to the annotate, tagging by category, you move your mouse here, you're gonna have the tag for a wall. And usually you know what's happening. What's happening here, some of you, is that the wall, now I have to just name it. This is gonna be the wall number 1. You don't worry too much about this warning because you know that that's applied. And these walls are gonna be wall number 2, and so forth. This obviously automatic is going to be wall number 2 because it recognizes the same wall types. But the rating is not there. So how can I apply a tag that it will be included in the rating? There's 2 ways. One of simple ways, if a company wants to have in the same tag of the wall showing the wall rating, you just simply select that tag, go to the edit family, and actually then apply here a label that is the wall rating. So I'm going to create a label, place it here, and once I do that, you see here that I have fire rating label. I'm going to move that here. This is just a sample how it's going to show. I'm going to hit OK and finish that. So in this tag, now I'm just going to center here for now. I'm going to put it here. If I load it into my project and I obviously override the existing version on each parameter, now it's going to show me, you can tell automatic, it will recognize this is a wall with the fire rating of 2 hours and this is a wall of fire rating 1 hour. And some people might say, okay, but now we have to do a lot of, kind of housekeeping because that doesn't look that nice. That is up to you. If I select back again this tag, then I can actually create these guys bigger and include it, included the file rating within, the symbols of these guys, or I can create another symbol separate. That is something that is now going to be, based on the company policy, how you're representing objects here. So if I do this, I load it back again. Obviously, it's going to override. So now you can see that these tags are really big. So this is something that now is part of the company policy. So how big or how small the tags are going to be. Another situation or another solution that I always would like to do, and sometimes I have that question, is that, okay, I want to have a tag for the walls only, and a tag only to place to the walls that are fire rating, because not in a project, not all of the walls are fire rating. So you can actually go here again, duplicate this guy or this family, and just take this guy out, which is actually the wall tab, the label, and just leave this guy only, the file rating. And obviously you minimize these guys, or the symbol is now the policy of the company. The policy of the company shows how the symbols are going to be shown. And then if you go back again, before going back again, you can tell here that this is a wall tab. I can actually resave this guy as a family, where whatever you wanted to save it. I usually have a folder called save as, and I'm going to call wall file rating rating tab. And then I do have then this, and if I load it into here, obviously it's not going to make any changes here because I completely changed the name. But now look at this. Now I can have a tab separate for the file rating only. If I then delete these guys, so, and I then, bring back again to the wall. So it's actually bring this because it's actually selected. So I need to load it now. And then let's do that quickly in the insert. loaded in annotation a wall tab. It's going to replace the old one, and then when you now go to the annotate, then you're going to have this actually the wall tab. I cannot think I use the same name, but you now can understand, and you can have both. You can have a tab for walls, just showing the walls separate, and a tab for this. Lastly, place this in in a, in the paper, you know that, so you can actually go to the view tab, create a sheet, and then place that view here, and obviously those guys are going to be represented here. If you're going to create a legend, you know that legends are treated in Revit as views. So you go here to the view tab in legends, and you can create a legend. You can name it, wall, fire rating. And then obviously nothing happened there. But then here in annotate, you can actually in the legend details component, you can bring those two walls here. And you can see here in the legend that you have the walls all the way at the end. And then you have those fire rating walls, if I found it there. Well, it's here, studio wall, 2 minutes. So you look for those fire rating walls, wall fire rating 1 hour. The representation here for the legend can be in a section by default. You can do the floor plan and you place it here. You can use the other one, the 2 hours fire rating walls 2 hours. I think I didn't name it, I just keep it like that way, but I think it's this one. And then you place it there. Obviously you bump it up here, and then you're gonna see the actual hatch. You can apply then, and then you can come here, and then with the text you can name it, fire rating, 1 hour, and then fire rating 2 hours, and then you're gonna have that legend. Obviously, if I copy this guy here, then the only thing that I'm gonna change is 2 hours here, and then you have that legend. So because it's a view, in my sheet of paper, I can bring that wall fire here and place that legend here, and then you're gonna have that information there. So basically what we can do is actually work with filters, view templates, versus actually graphically create a hatch for every single wall. And every time that you work, then in every single view, you don't need to worry graphically to represent with a hash or a color field coding the information of the fire rating walls in Revit. That is actually the best way to do it, practical way, professional way, and more importantly, when you actually are in Revit putting on paper or creating legends or actually taking material takeoff, those walls, if I go back again to the levels and you select those walls, the fire rating parameter is there, so you can play these guys into the material quantity or schedules, and they will be shown which one wall is with fire rating and which one is not actually using fire rating. So I appreciate that you had the time to look at this presentation. Hope that it helps you out, and definitely I'm pretty sure that you get something out of this guide. So now, Tracy, this is your part.
Thank you so much, Roger. That was very informative. And we want to let our viewers and attendees know that Netcom Learning does offer a comprehensive portfolio for Autodesk Revit training courses. You can enroll in any of the ones you see up on your screen. And we also offer team training that can be customized and accelerated to meet your organization's specific needs. Contact us today to be connected to one of our learning consultants to help you advise on your specific needs, or you can email us at webinar@netcomlearning.com. We also deliver private training to teams, of which the learning plan can be customized to the specific needs of the audience. These offerings can be found with a simple search on our website at netcomlearning.com. And we all know technical skills are necessary to empower your career, but you need to improve or upgrade your leadership skills as well in order to accelerate your career. Along with technical abilities, develop the skills you need to manage yourself, others, and business better. Welcome to Starter Learning, a collaborative knowledge platform bringing the world's best business and leadership insights from Fortune 1000 leaders, best-selling authors, and Ivy League professors. If you are interested in learning from the top American leaders, please log on to our e-learning platform at starterlearning.com, and you can avail the special promotion seen on your screen for first-time users. Simply use coupon code STARTER10 and begin your leadership journey right now. And right now, we are going to launch a quick poll to find out how many people might be interested in taking some additional training. And in addition, we do have a lot more informative webinars coming up. Simply go to netcomlearning.com/webinars to register. And don't forget to like and follow our social media pages to get the latest technology updates. You can refer to our GoToWebinar chat window for the links. And we have time for a quick question. So, Roger, how can I show the details of the hatches of the firewalls if, for example, floor plans, elevators, etc.?
That's a good question. Actually, one of the ways that I show you is there's two different ways in Revit. It's not only one way. And the most primarily way is the most traditional way, so to speak, is especially for people that are coming from a 2D program background. Primarily, one of the most known programs is AutoCAD. What we do, in AutoCAD, we create a layer, and then we create a hatch, and then we put in every single wall in the floor plan or in a section. That's usually what we do. That was the first part of the presentation that I did. I show you that it's very easy to do it in Revit as well, but then the curtains or the difficult problem of that, or the problem that will bring, is that in AutoCAD primarily we work in 2D, and when we do it in a floor plan, that's fine, but in Revit we're working in a 3D modeling. So that model or that wall actually goes all the way in the entire model of the building. So we have now to go floor by floor plan or section by section or every single view and create those hatches and pairs individually, the way that I showed you earlier. The way that I show you now, using filters to actually place any particular hatch or any particular fill color coding, is a much more I'm not going to say professional way, which is actually the best professional way, but it's actually a more automatic way to do it. Because if I go now to any other level and create a wall with the fire rating already set up, I don't have to worry about the graphic part. To then, after doing the wall, then I have to go and then graphically create a hatch pattern for every single wall, because the wall already will have those on the filters. And you notice too, how can I apply that view template for the filters alone and then apply to every single view, and then they will actually show those pattern or those color coding, whatever is the case. Additionally, on the side, one thing that is amazing and great to many companies is like, let's say, for example, that the city, if you are presenting those drawings or those documentation to the city, and the city said, you know what, the color coding looks very heavy for us to review or whatever. Why don't you use a hatch? So then, if you are actually in a 2D environment drawing, then you have to go page by page and change the actually hatch. In Revit, you only go to the filter, change the hatch to another hatch, or the color field to another color field less intense for the city, and you just do it only once. And because you have a view template, it will apply to the entire project documentation, and then the changes is going to be automatic for everything. So probably if you do it in a 2D environment, it's going to take maybe a good 2 or 3 days to do the changes. In Revit, it's going to take probably 2 or 3 minutes. I hope that answered that question.
Great. Thank you, Roger, and thanks all for joining us today. And if you do come up with any additional questions, feel free to send them to webinar@netcomlearning.com at any time. We hope that you found today's webinar informative, and we look forward to seeing you back here with us soon. Feel free to tell your friends and colleagues about our webinars and other courses. Have a great day, everyone.